Hey guys, back with another impressions video on this game right here, Oreshika Tainted Bloodlines, and uh, this was originally a digital release on the PlayStation Network for the Vita for $20, and this was a game I was looking forward to for quite a long time. Ever since I first heard about it, and it was a surprise to me that this got announced for localization, considering the first game. It doesn't say 2 in the title, but this is a sequel to a game on the PlayStation 1, which obviously never came out here. But yeah, this is a physical copy. I don't think a lot of people know that this game actually was released in a physical form. Now, this game is impossible to get, unfortunately. I wish I could tell you, oh, you can go to a certain site or whatever and get it, but this particular version came out in Hong Kong only, I think, or at least in China. And it's like this is completely in English. Like it's even got, I'll show you here. Like it says English version there. Like the entire back of this copy is entirely in English. You'd think like this would, this was a game you'd find on store shelves in North America. I mean, there's no ESRB rating, but that's about it. I mean, on the inside, obviously we've got the game, and we got like there's a few slips in here, like I don't know, like a code for something. I don't know. I haven't redeemed this. And then like a little like control slip. There's like a use and handling precaution slip in here too. No manual, but I mean this is an actual physical copy, and it's really weird. This was on Play Asia. I think Play Asia was like the only way you could get this version, this copy. And it was on there for, I think, exactly a day, and then it was sold out. That print run was completely sold out, and it hasn't been on sale ever since. In fact, this is not even on eBay. I saw it on eBay a few days afterwards. Oh, not a few days, like once it actually got shipped out to people. And I ordered this on Play Asia, and it wasn't like 3 weeks until I got it. But yeah, I saw a couple of them pop up on eBay for like $150 to $200, and now they're gone. So yeah, I can't see any way to actually get this physical copy, that's really unfortunate, because I know a lot of you are really into the physical copies, and I am too, especially with handheld games. And even though $20 is a good price for this game, like this physical copy was like $40, so it wasn't that much more. And I would, since I was really looking forward to this game, I wanted that physical copy. But yeah, unfortunately, this is pretty much impossible to get. Hopefully, they do another print run. Like this game, I don't know. It seems like extremely limited. This copy. Unfortunately, the game itself, I gotta say, it's not my game. It's not my type of game. I've put in about 15 hours, and unfortunately, it's going to go back on the shelf. This is a dungeon crawler, and I've said before, dungeon crawlers aren't really my thing. I've tried a bunch of them, the Etrian Odyssey games, Persona Q, Conception 2, although that game, I think that game just plain flat out sucks. But yeah, after playing this, I don't know if dungeon crawlers are for me. I really enjoyed Persona 3 and 4, and I would consider those dungeon crawlers, but at least with those games, they have such a heavy focus on story and characters that I didn't mind going through the dungeons, and they were very simple. The dungeons are definitely more involved in this game, and I'll get to that, but I'll try to explain why this isn't exactly for me. At the same time, I am actually going to recommend this game, because I think if you like RPGs and you really like dungeon crawlers, I think you actually are going to dig this. You have to know what you're getting into, though, and I'll explain that in a bit, because I think this game is not going to be for everyone. But at that $20 price point, I think it's a worthy purchase. I would say the physical copy is too, for like the $40 or whatever, but yeah, it's basically impossible to get now. But yeah, Oreshika, story, it's almost non-existent. At the same time, the concept of this game is, I think, what makes it so interesting. You're ahead of a clan that's kind of been cursed, and each member of this clan has exactly, I think it's 2 years before they die. So the whole kind of concept with the game is the fact that like you're the head of this clan, and you have to, like, through selective breeding, have like children, and then they're a part of your bloodline, and then they'll, after 2 years, they'll have to have their own children, and your bloodline becomes quite huge. So there's a lot of characters in this game. You're constantly going through characters. Your characters are constantly dying, and the story is basically you're trying to break this curse. You'll find like bits of story throughout the dungeons, but they don't give you a whole lot. This isn't a very heavily story-driven game. Like a lot of dungeon crawlers I've played, you're mainly playing this to delve into these dungeons. But a big part of this game is preparation and time management, and those are the aspects that unfortunately aren't really for me. I'll get into those. I guess with the gameplay, I mean, that's about it with the story. I mean, again, a really unique concept. And in terms of gameplay, that concept basically makes for a lot of cool mechanics with this game. If there's something, like the best thing about this game overall is how unique it is. And I've never seen anything quite like it. I think the closest I can think of is like Conception 2. It has that kind of like making children aspect, but whereas that game, I think it kind of fails in its execution. This game generally succeeds. It's just ultimately not really my type of game. And of course, the first Oreshika was probably the most unique because that was back in the PS1 and it had like this unique concept. But gameplay, let's talk about gameplay. And there's a lot to cover. I'm going to try to go over it briefly. And this game is really overwhelming at first. It took me a while to get into the how the systems worked. But basically, you have these multiple dungeons that you can go in. They're like massive dungeons from like that. I never actually completed any of these dungeons because they're incredibly long. And one of the annoying things is the fact that, well, I guess I should talk about like the time aspects of this game. So your characters have 2 years to live, and you generally want to do this rite of union. This is like the breeding process where the game tells you that like the 14th month of your character's life is when you want to do this rite of union, where each character has like devotion, and you kind of have to mate with certain characters, and the higher devotion, the better like your stats on your children are going to be. And there's like a training aspect where you have to use your clan members to train the children clan members. It's very hard to describe, like, and it's really like I'm having a hard time describing it. In the game, honestly, kind of, I don't know if I want to say it does a poor job at explaining things. It's just you really have to read a lot, and it takes a while to get into the like to get a handle on things. But like characters have all sorts of different stats. There's different weapon types. At the beginning of the game, you choose 3 clan members with their own weapon types. There's like a fencer, a halberd type person, a fan user. There's all sorts of cool weapon classes, and they all play quite differently from one another. And you choose between those 3. You can unlock more later. But yeah, the basic gist of the game is you have your party of clan members, and you're taking them into the dungeons, strengthening them up, and then trying to clear like these festivals. I guess like that's the main part of the game, where like it's like the game goes by in years, and each month you have like a certain task that you can do, whether it be like gathering a new skill that you might need for your clan members, fighting a certain amount of a certain enemy, and this you can go into whatever dungeon. There's like a world map of sorts, and you basically, the main part of the game is each month you'll have like this Feast of Demons festival where it will be in a certain dungeon, and you'll have to find this specific location where you get transported to like this festival, and then you fight a boss, and then you move on to do the next Festival of Demons, which will be a year from then. This game's very grindy. You're gonna have to grind a lot, and a lot of times you're not gonna be able to actually kill the boss. The first 2 festivals aren't too bad, but by the time you reach the 3rd boss, you're gonna have to grind a lot, and you're not gonna be able to get everything done in a year. And this game, I guess I should talk about like the difficulty selection in this game. It's really strange, where it's not the typical easy, normal, hard. You have like like the first difficulty level is like it will say to you, this will take around 30 hours to complete, but it will still be very challenging. Where the next difficulty level will be like, this will take 50 hours to complete. It's probably the easiest mode. So depending on what difficulty you choose, time goes more slowly or more quickly. And when you're in the dungeons, time ticks away. So the whole time you're playing this game, at least for me, I felt like I not only was I constantly overwhelmed, I was like very frustrated because the time limit aspect was always in my head, and I was thinking, well, I don't have much time until this character dies, and this character is my strongest character, and then I'm gonna have to use weaker characters. I know I might not be able to kill this boss, or I might not be able to do this quest, and that's the whole part of the game that I just did not enjoy. The entire like 15 hours I spent on this game, I wasn't enjoying it. I was just really stressed out. And you know, I'm kind of hit and miss on time management aspects in general, and this game it really kind of wasn't for me. And I mentioned preparation, like you have to, like there's a whole town simulation aspect to this game too, where you can spend money to upgrade shops and things like that. And like I mentioned, you had like the right of union stuff that you do, and this all takes time too. You know, like the right of union, like making new children. Will take time, and you can't take the children out on the dungeons right away. You got to wait. You got to spend time doing training. Like everything takes time in this game. Like time that I felt like I didn't really have, and I wanted to use like going through dungeons. So I'll admit a part of the reason why I don't like this game too much is I'm really bad at it. Even though actually like the enemies in the dungeons are really easy, no matter which difficulty I chose, and you can switch to any difficulty. But yeah, I guess I should talk about like the combat system and the dungeon crawling in general. Dungeon crawling is like third person, sort of overhead. It's not first person. Each dungeon is very different from one another. That I liked, and some of them are heavily focused on puzzles. So you're going through these dungeons. Enemies are on the map. You run into them from like behind, and you get like like you know, a bonus attack or whatever. So that's great. No random encounters. That's excellent. The battle system itself is it's interesting. You have like 3 different actions your characters can take. I think it's up to, I want to say up to, yeah, I think it's like 4 characters in your party at once in the battles. It looks like there's like a slot for a 5th character, but I never had a 5th character in battle. Positioning is important depending on what class you chose. Like certain classes can attack a bunch of enemies in a front line or in a back line. So it kind of reminded me of Radiant Historia in that way. So you got to take some positioning into account. Each character, like when you start combat, you'll have like 3 different actions you can choose. It might be like attack this front row of enemies or use this ability. And if you use one of those 3 abilities, your loyalty will go up with that character. You can back out of that menu though and choose whatever you want to do. If you want to attack a singular enemy or use whatever skill you want. So there's like the battle system works well, and it's pretty enjoyable. You know, it's not the most complex battle system ever, and I think there's almost like way too many skills, and pretty much all your characters can have every skill. But the weapons add some variety, like the weapon types. So I like the battle system, but like from what I've seen, like admittedly I'm not that far into the game. I'm like, you know, like I said, 15 hours. The enemies are ridiculously easy in this game. Like I don't think I ever came close to having any of my characters die, and you can heal during the dungeons too, really easily. The bosses, on the other hand, like the first couple bosses aren't too bad, but the bosses are very tough in this game. And this brings me to one of the other annoying things about this game. If you get to a boss, right, like one of the main bosses you need to progress the story, there's a bunch of optional bosses too you can find. If you lose to this boss, you don't get a game over, but like that month is gone, and then you have to progress through an entire year if you want to have a shot at that boss again. Now, of course, you can like reload your game, but it's kind of annoying because a lot of these dungeons, it takes a long time to get these bosses. And there were a couple dungeons where I was eventually unlocking shortcuts of some kind, but a lot of times you have to backtrack through a bunch of easy enemies every time you want to like get to a boss. And I don't know, it was just really annoying. And then some of the puzzle aspects to these dungeons I thought were really irritating. There's this luck system that I don't like either, where as soon as you get into a battle, it will like a lottery system will come up, and that will determine what items you'll get from the battle you're in. And like that's really annoying too, because a lot of these items, like the weapons and armor and things like that, but some of them are actual skills, and some of these quests you have to undertake, like require you to get a specific skill from a specific enemy. So you're at the mercy of this lottery system, and it's really frustrating. Uh, I don't know, like that whole system I did not care for at all. Another thing with the battle system, like there's an enemy leader for each battle you get into, and then a bunch of standard enemies. If you kill the leader, you'll get less experience, but you'll finish the battle right away. Whereas if you kill all the enemies at once, you'll get more experience. So that's kind of cool. But I don't know, the sense of progression in this game was just kind of, I don't know, it kind of got annoying because I spent all this time building up a character and leveling them up, and then just to have them die, and then I got to use some of these other characters, but they're still pretty powerful, and then they'll die, and then I'm stuck with, like, I don't know, children that aren't quite up to snuff, and I got to train them up, and I don't know, I think it's just a bit too grindy, and then combined with, like, the time management and simulation and preparation aspects of the game, I don't know, I did not enjoy it. And then you have the fact that your characters really, they're not going to have that much personality because they're constantly dying all the time. There's no character development here. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just not my thing. And then I guess the dungeons I found most were kind of annoying mostly. You know, I'm sure I'm explaining this game pretty poorly. I mean, it's kind of overwhelming and complex, but I'm sure there's some things I'm missing in terms of gameplay. But I mean, that's the general gist of it. I mean, if that sounds appealing to you, I think you're really going to dig it. It's very unique, and the battle system is generally pretty fun. Yeah, and what can I say? It's not really my thing. But let's talk about, I guess, the visuals and audio. Now this game looks fantastic. It's got this really interesting art style. It's sort of cell shaded, but it's got like this. Like, I don't know much about Japanese culture or anything, but it kind of reminds me of, I guess, like a kind of ancient Japan kind of. It has like an ancient Japan kind of vibe, especially like with like, the environments. The characters are your typical kind of anime designs, but I don't know. It has a very interesting art style. This game overall, it's very vibrant, very colorful. It looks great in motion. The animations are really cool. Like, I don't know, like visually, this game is actually pretty stunning. The only issue is that like the frame rate can be really bad sometimes. Like the Feast of Demons sections, when you enter these areas, like there's a ton of enemies on screen, and the frame rate just takes a shit. But I mean, that's not a big deal. So yeah, I think the visuals actually some of the I think the strongest part of the game for me. Audio. This physical copy is the same as the digital version, and it's Japanese voice acting. It's just basically English subtitles here, which is fine. The Japanese voice acting, it seems good to me, I guess. Music though, the music is actually really excellent in this game. Again, it has like kind of like a Japanese vibe. Like it's not like the typical JRPG music you hear. I don't know. I'm not very good at describing the kind of music in this game, but I don't know. It's very interesting. It's like the battle theme in particular. I really liked. I don't know. Again, it's the kind of music you think of when the kind of music that when I say ancient Japan, the type of music that probably pops in your head. That's the kind of music that you'll hear throughout this game. It really fits like the style of the game and the overall art style. But yeah. I mean, I guess that about covers it. I'm sure I'm missing a lot. I didn't want this video to go on too long, and it already has. But yeah, not my type of game. Dungeon crawlers, man. I swear, everyone I try, I cannot seem to get into them. But I am going to give Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey a shot. I think I'll like that one. I don't want to dismiss dungeon crawlers just yet, but if I don't end up enjoying that game, I think it's kind of like a subgenre of RPGs that I'm just gonna have to, I'm not gonna have to avoid from now on. That is if I don't like Strange Journey. I have a feeling I'll like that game. I don't know when I'm gonna get around to that, but yeah, Oreshika. If this seems appealing to you, definitely check it out. Unfortunately, not for me, but I'm glad I gave it a shot. I did want to try this game for sure. yeah, that's it, guys. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.